Ready. Action.
Hi, my name is Jordan.
Hi, my name is Amari.
And we're going to be working with Stephanie from the LES Ecology Center.
So Stephanie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Stephanie. I'm a compost associate with the Lower East Side Ecology Center. I work the food scrap drop-off site at the stand at Union Square in Tompkins Square.
And so today we're going to be asking her some questions about the work that she's doing.
And I wanted to ask why elementary programs and NYC chose to work with the LES Ecology Center.
Sure. I chose to work with Lower East Side Ecology Center. I feel very lucky to be working here. They have been doing sustainability work in the city since 1987. So they're really pioneers. In my mind, I come from like a community garden background, and LES Ecology is they're like an institution. There's just has been a consistent presence in the city since the 80s, which is similar. So I respect the consistency and dependability of LES Ecology.
What ways do you use social media to uplift the work that you're doing?
Sure. So our social media people use Instagram mostly, but we also have a really powerful newsletter, like an email newsletter. There's a lot of education that happens through infographics. We promote events that we have coming up. And it also just helps make people aware that there are folks doing work in the city and all. It's separate from the city government, and it's like available to the public.
You get to spread it all around.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of just like another channel to get the word out.
And one last question. How does the stand help you and help Lower East Side expand their business?
This here is so loud. So having a physical presence by the food scrap drop-off site is great because we can answer questions in real time when people come up and they want to know, can I put this in the bin? Is this compostable? These sorts of things. And it's also a good chance to just have conversations with people about budget issues, their concerns around things like recycling. It's a good chance to promote like e-waste events that we have. You can really do in real time over the course of the day. You can get more one-on-one interactions with people that are more impactful than like an image on your phone screen. Yeah, it takes a more work. It takes more like psychic energy at the end of the day, but you really do. You're able to sort of by making eye contact with people and answering their questions, feel really supported and connected. Just like you want to do sustainability work.
Wait, so you take compost on site?
Yeah, so we have, if you guys want to come over here and check it out. Collect food scraps here, so it's all like fruits and veggies. All the brown stuff is coffee grounds. Coffee grounds are very compostable. So it's like, a lot of food waste, but like, watermelon rind, these sorts of things. And then we process them. There's a site on Staten Island, another one in Queens, and then I can show you the finished compost if you want. It takes a couple months working with the food scraps, and we get this really awesome, rich black compost that you can mix.
It looks like regular dirt.
Yeah, I mean, this is like super powered dirt. It's very, if you planted a plant in only this, it actually would die because it's like too much vitamins and it holds a lot of moisture. So in order to make like a soil mix, you add other ingredients to increase drainage and sort of dilute it. But yeah, and that comes from the stuff that people normally throw in the trash. It keeps it from going landfill.
Recycling! Alright, so thank you so much for answering our questions.
Yes, my pleasure.
Educating us.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Alright, thanks for watching.
Good job.
I would say a little bit, especially with that clock in front of the building.
Yeah, what has the clock? I really am so curious about like young people and what they like.
I am a little nervous because, like, what if we don't get to have winter anymore? I remember, like, last year, it didn't snow at all.
It was really twisted.
It didn't snow at all. And it was, like, I don't like snow, but, like, that's a little scary because we usually have snow all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just, like, if we keep having winters like that and stuff like that, and we keep having these humid summers, it's just, like, it's a little scary about
Stuff
how...
saying, like, hot and wet.
Yeah.
Stuff not growing.
Oh, yeah, especially with, like, with the fruits and everything, and like the natural ones, not the ones that are like that has all that stuff inside. Yeah, man-made and whatnot. So it's kind of scary because it's like, are they trying to kill off natural produce? Like, do they want us to like die?
Like the juice stuff. Yeah, is that like a real? What do you? You said a tad bit, but I couldn't tell if you were being sarcastic.
Oh no, I'm being so sincere. Like, man-made fruits are no good.
Oh, so you guys are? You feel like the main, like you're like the thing that freaks you out is like GMO. Like veggies and stuff.
Also, like the ocean too. Like I've seen like the sea level rise.
Sea level rise is the one that gets me. That's the one that keeps me up at night.
Especially because I was looking around, like, I mean, not looking around. I was in a museum and it was about New York City, and like most of our land and what we're building is built off of it's built on water.
Yeah, it's built on infill.
Yeah.
So infill, I went to school and I studied like historic preservation and like old cities and stuff. And I didn't learn until I was in my 30s that infill is literally just landfill. Like you land on the island of Manhattan and you're building your city, and then you have a bunch of trash and you just throw it in the marsh until it becomes like packed down, and then you put a building on it. Yeah. So like New York City's built on all this infill. Yeah. Right? And then so like with sea level rise, all of a sudden we're gonna find out where the actual like where the rivers used to be. Yeah. You like ever walk through a park and you're like, oh, every time it rains, there's water right here. Yeah. And then like, at least in my head, I'm like, oh, I bet you there used to be water right there.
Yeah. If you ever look at an old map, too, you can see where all the canals and where all the rivers were in Manhattan before it was called Manhattan, like New Amsterdam. Yeah. But it was still like the Native Americans living here, and I think that's crazy.
Yeah. Where did you start learning about sea level rise? Is it okay if we like ask you guys?
Social media.
Social media. There's like so you guys are getting social media posts about sea level rise.
Yeah, like especially like predictions. Like you give predictions all the time. Like what it's gonna look like in like 30 years, 40 years, and the city, like the whole beach be gone.
Yeah. I'm in this line of work now. I had a whole career in the music industry, managing a record label, and learning about sea level rise is what had me. I'm making like a fifth of the amount of money I used to make. I'm back in school. I'm kind of like doing a full reboot because sea level rise for me was the one that really got me. I think about all the people who are going to have to move.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially in Manhattan, because we keep building stuff and it's just like
it's
lower
crazy.
and lower. And especially, and also with the floods that we be having when it rains like pretty hard, like we shouldn't be flooding like that, at all. Yeah. And with the sea level rising, it's just gonna get worse. It's like we're gonna kind of turn into like the southern states and whatnot when it comes to like the water. Yeah, New Orleans and stuff.
New Orleans is sinking.
But they're mostly prone to hurricanes though too, because they're right next to
the hurricanes
Africa.
Are getting strong.
Yeah, they're next to Africa on the continent, so
you guys should check out Rainproof NYC. They have some really cool working groups for people who are interested in like figuring out how to make urban environments more resilient in these big ass rainstorms that we're getting now that like come out of nowhere and soak the ground, and then the soil's too dry and it can't soak it up, and the flooding is going to be an interesting.
I feel like they just need to stop building stuff.
Stop building stuff.
Yeah, I seen like New York City take the smallest space and put a building in there. And I'm just like, why? Like, it was no needed for that. Like, y'all could have left it as it was. Make a garden, maybe. Why are y'all putting a building there? Like, it's like, it'd be so small. And I'm like, people are gonna live here?
Yeah. Like, there's pros and cons to that kind of stuff. Because, like, if either you build a building on a tiny lot that's unused, or you build a subdivision out there where people have to have cars to get to where they're going. I think that they need to just lower the the rent, and they need to like. Honestly. I think they need to like charge landlords for leaving apartments empty because we're like we're in a housing crisis. We're in a housing crisis.
And there's so much vacant lots that they're not in, and it's just like so weird.
It's because they can't get enough money for it. They're like, until I can get $3,100 for my 1-bedroom apartment, I'm not going to rent it. I'd rather leave it empty. And then we're like in a housing crisis, and then they build a tower, but the towers aren't affordable either.
Because I know, especially with gentrification now, they're building a lot of sky-rise buildings everywhere, like especially in my neighborhood.
Where's
like,
the neighborhood?
Flatbush. So we just got two I want to say 6-story apartment buildings next to houses on the street, and they don't care. And then as the community, you try to fight for it, but no matter what you do, it's just like.
And those units aren't affordable.
No, they're not affordable. They're not affordable. They're right next to your backyard, and for the longest time, the what is that called? Like the ramps and stuff, they were blocking a lot, like sunlight, all that good stuff. And then with these apartments, we fought for it a little bit, and they raised the price to work on it every month. I think it was like $1,000 every month to like work on the apartment. Now it's like $80K, and that really slowed down the process. Because I remember hearing them every day, banging and clinking. Because I think it was like 3 new apartments that they just built like around the corner, and it's crazy.
I think a lot of what comes around like the sustainability stuff is figuring out how to use what we already have. Like we can stop buying new things, we can stop building new things, we should be going into landfills and pulling out useful things and then putting them back, making them useful, building a brand new tower. And honestly, like sea level rise, I think about Flatbush with sea level rise, a lot of those buildings are not sturdy. I live in a pre-war building in Flatbush, and that building's not coming down, and it's like it doesn't get much sunlight. It's like we have a big tower next to us, but I still would rather live in that old building than in one of those new towers because it's gonna last a lot longer. It kind of reminds me of like that website like Shein, like the cheap crappy clothes, and you're like, oh, it's like you can get like the trendiest thing right now, and it's only gonna cost you $12, and if you wash it one time, it just comes apart, and then you throw it in the landfill.
That's why thrifting is like really good, but like also like a lot of the people who own these thrift stores don't even get the concept of it, and it's like basically hoarding the clothes because they're so like expensive, and it's just like okay, like just hoard the clothes, and you're not actually being helpful at all. I feel like you're just not being sustainable. Like for me,
hoarding resources is definitely like counter to any sustainability efforts, like hoarding resources for sure. Whatever it is, used clothes, housing. Like when I think about landlords leaving their vacant apartments because they can't get way too much money for it, they're like, I'd rather get no money than get below market rate. That's hoarding,
Exactly. Like my landlord was doing that. Like he had open like apartments and stuff like that, and he was hoarding it. Like you have some people in this building that have like 5 people and like 2-bedroom apartments trying to see if there's a new apartment available, and you're not like helping, like you're not trying to be like available, making it available to them at all. And then also they're building like y'all were saying earlier, they're building a new building by my house, and it's like blocking my sunlight that comes through my window, which I need for my plants. And it's like and it's like the way I live, it's like I'm in the back of the building, so it's like I barely even get sunlight already, and y'all like blocking it with the building, and then I gotta hear it banging all morning, and then it looks so super small, like who's gonna live there? And it's like I hate when they put it in like the most weirdest spots, like these new modern buildings right in like urban areas where there's a lot of like it just doesn't make sense to me, honestly.
They don't fit with the fabric of the neighborhood.
Exactly.
It's like it's almost like in your face.
It's like seeing like and I was walking around in Brooklyn, like around like the Fort Greene area, so a bunch of beautiful brownstones, and then you see this one big modern building that looks like one of those like cyborg like technology things. Like I'm like, I don't think it belongs here. Like you have all these like well-made buildings, like very old and cute and whatnot, and you're just gonna put like a modern building right there, and it's just like,
and
it seems like an expression of like individualism or something, where it's like this is like it's colonial, like this is mine, this is my piece of property, this is my freaky building, I'll make it look however I want with no regard to the community or the fabric of the neighborhood.
And I feel like sorry, my fault. And they just don't care. Like I feel like a lot of these landlords, they don't care about the community at all. And you don't see those type of buildings being made in Prospect Park. you see those buildings being made in minority made house. Like it's not well built. Like I used to be over by the Fort Greene area all the time, and you might be able to kick some of the people out, but the people are still there, even though you build these big jumbo houses, and they can't afford that.
Yeah,
they really can't. Like it's not. It's
I
not
don't know
fair.
what the plan
it's
is.
Not conducive.
What's their plan?
I was saying like individuality is gonna be like what it's gonna be like what harms us most, because my brother was saying like y'all acting like we're not gonna be bartering and trading and having more sliding scale prices in in 2 years or so, because of the way everything is going, especially the economy. Like inflation is just like y'all need to actually be more involved with each other and be more connected and like actually be willing to help each other out.
Yeah.
And like also I'm gonna be honest, like farmer markets like these, like y'all costing like an arm and a leg for certain like produce and whatnot. I'm like, I don't think that should be it. Like,
well, actually, this farmers market and the other Grow NYC farmers markets, they take food stamps. Like you can come in and get tokens and get free produce, like based on, I mean, like the income levels to qualify for those things are pretty low.
Yeah.
I could use those.
I have food stamps. So.
Yeah, I barely qualified out. Like I make just a little too much money, and I could really use those damn things. But yeah, these farmers markets actually are accessible for people with food stamps, which is cool.
Because I've been to some, and I'm just like, way too expensive.
Yeah.
Way too expensive. Like, y'all supposed to be here to help, and y'all not helping.
I mean, I get all my produce from the Church Ave farm stand, which you might know at Church and Ocean.
Yeah.
And I think what they do is they just like go to the Bronx and buy up all the produce at the end of the day, like whatever's left over and about to go rotten. So it's super cheap. And I feel like I'm doing landfill diversion, because I'm gonna take this home and eat it tonight. It's gonna go bad tomorrow if I don't. Otherwise it'll end up in a landfill. Yeah. I think it's interesting you're talking about just like individualism maybe being the seed, like the poison that is keeping us from thinking collectively about our future. It's going to take teamwork. Yeah. The Shein, like the crappy, cheap fashion, that feels very that feels very like sort of like me. I want the like craziest, newest thing now at any cost. You know, I want to build a gleaming glass tower in the middle of Flatbush at any cost to the fabric of the neighborhood, to the neighbors who live there. You know, whatever it is, it's about me and what I want. And then the joke is that we're all alone now.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially I feel like with the Flatbush community being so like Caribbean, Haitian based, you know, it's really hard to change that demographic with this building. Like, it's very hard. Like, you could put these buildings in Manhattan, but once you put them in these communities where it's mostly just Caribbean people, it's very hard for them to afford these housing, because they've been here 30 years. My grandfather owned that house 30 years now. Yeah. And he doesn't really go outside as much, so he doesn't really see the community change, but it's changed tremendously from when he was there. So I feel like that's really important to look at, too.
Yeah, cities definitely are, like, a change machine. They're constantly changing, and then it just comes down to sort of like how predatory it's gotten and how fast. Nothing used to change this fast. That's what I think about when I think about climate change, and people want to talk to me about, they're like, oh, they've been making those predictions since I was a kid, you know, da-da-da-da. And I want to explain to people that it's changing faster than it used to. And so when a lot of times, like, it's part of why I like working at LES Ecology is because Christine, I consider her an elder who has been doing this work for a long time. Other people her age want to talk to me about how I'm being dramatic, you know, and or like how, you know, it's not going to be that big of a deal. They've been saying that since I was a kid, and I'm like, it's different now. Yeah. It's actually different. Like when adults want to talk, I say adults, I'm 35, but like when grown-ups want to talk to me about what it was like when they were young, I want to look at them and be like, the rules are different now.
Yeah, I hate when they be like, oh my god, Gen Z is so lazy. Like, all you gotta do is work. All you gotta do is work. Like, brownstones used to cost $1 when y'all were back then. Like my
I
don't think it's very different.
Like my grandmother talks about this all the time. She be like, I'm so mad at my father because he thought his $5 rent was expensive when he could have bought something good that could have lasted for generations. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, New York didn't look like this at all.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't start getting money until we turned into Disney World, Times Square, you know? I'm saying it's crazy. Like, that's where we're getting our money from. We're getting money from these luxury housing, all they taxes.
Sitting on the real estate.
Yeah.
That's make it.
I think it's crazy. That's why inflation has gone up so much, too.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for talking to me.
Oh, yeah.